Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll read from Canto 9, Celestial Dynasties, chapter number 16, from The Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Parashurama kills the Kshatriyas. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhete girim yat kripa tamam vande shigurum deen tarinam parmananda madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hariyam Tatsa. Parashurama agreed, let it be so. Without any delay, he left. After 1 year of touring different holy sites, he returned to his father's residence. Shortly after his residence, his mother Renuka, in her usual way, went to the river Ganges to get water. On this occasion, however, she saw the king of the Gandharvas decorated with a garland of lotuses sporting in the Ganges with celestial apsaras. Seeing the handsome celestial with his athletic physique and dark curly locks framing his comely face, her mind became attracted to him. Lost in an amorous reverie, she forgot her husband was waiting for her to bring water for his sacrifice. After an hour, the celestials tired of their sport and departed. Renuka returned to her senses and snatched up her water vessel. What had she been thinking? Her husband was waiting for her while she was absorbed in sinful thoughts. She trembled with fear. The powerful sage would surely curse her when she returned. She timidly put the water pot before him and stood with folded hands. What has kept you, woman? Jamadagni demanded. The time for my worship is now past. Renuka hung her head and said nothing. Jamadagni's eyes narrowed. By his mystic powers, he divined her mind. Wretched woman, he shouted, do you not know how an adulteress is forced to suffer in hell? Their older sons gathered around in surprise to see their usually mild father so angry. Embarrassment and shame mixed with fear in Renuka's heart, and she could not utter a word. Overcome by anger, Jamadagni commanded his older sons to kill their mother. Horrified, they refused. Jamadagni turned to Parashurama, who had been chopping firewood when the disturbance started and now stood at a distance watching his unexpected family quarrel unfold. Parashurama called the Jamadagni sternly. Kill your brothers who disobeyed my order and this sinful woman who has mentally committed adultery. Parashurama looked at his furious father. He would likely kill him all if not obeyed by uttering a powerful curse. Best to please him by following his order. Parashurama grabbed his sword without further thought and swiftly pierced his mother and brother's hearts before they could even move. Covered in the blood, he knelt before his father with his head lowered. Blessed Father, please command me, your ever-obedient son. Jamadagni smiled with great pleasure to see Parashurama's submissiveness. He had carried out an extremely difficult task. The boy had always been most affectionate towards his mother and brothers. He could never tolerate seeing his mothers experience the slightest difficulty, yet out of his love and respect for his father, he had slain all of them without expressing any misgivings. Jamadagni patted Parashurama's bowed head. You are truly a worthy son. Ask me of any boon and I will undoubtedly fulfill your heart's desire. His eyes fixed reverentially on his father's feet and his hands placed together in supplication, Parashurama replied, let my mother and brothers live again and not remember me killing them. This is the benediction I ask. His father laughed, impressed by his son's sharp intelligence. Go now and bathe. When you return, all will be as usual. When Parashurama returned from the Ganges, he saw his mother and brothers alive and in high spirits. Not remembering anything that had happened, he sighed in relief. His father's power, austerity, and learning were without parallel. In Mahismati, Kartavirya Arjun's 1,000 sons remained deeply upset by their father's death. In the weeks that followed the incident with Renuka, their depression increased. One of the grieving princes finally called a meeting of his brothers. My dear brothers, he said, day and night I am haunted by the vision of that vicious Parashurama cutting off our father's head. Many other princes also lamented. Our hearts burned, dear brother, said one. Another said, our father was the most powerful warrior on earth, yet that ascetic killed him while fighting on foot. Not only father, but 17 battalions. What can we do against him? He will mow us down like insects. A murmur of agreement arose from the assembled brothers. The first brother held up his arms, calling for quiet. Dear brothers, I know we are not powerful enough to face Parashurama in battle, but when he is out of his ashram, we can kill his father just as he killed ours. Overcome by grief, he will lose his strength and be no threat to us. The next day, when Parashurama and his brothers had entered the forest, the princes approached Jamdagni's residence seeking revenge. They saw the elderly yogi sitting by the sacred fire, deep in meditation on Vishnu. Renuka was sweeping the ashram when she spotted them stealthily, creeping up on her husband, swords in hand. As it dawned on her what their intention was, she ran towards them, trying to block their access to her husband. No, please, no, she cried, pushing her roughly aside. The brothers rushed at Jamdagni, their swords held high, and hacked off his head. Then, picking up the bloody head by the matted hair, they said, finally, our father is avenged. They ran laughing from the ashram, leaving Renuka by her husband's decapitated body, striking her chest continuously. In her grief, she wailed and cried loudly, O Ram, my dear son, Ram. Although Parashurama and brothers were a long distance away from home, they heard their mother's pitiful cries and hastily returned to find the bloodied corpse of their father being cradled by their distraught mother. Parashurama dropped down to his knees next to Renuka. Mother, who has done this? Renuka was hysterical. She did not know who they were exactly. They looked like Kshatriyas, and on killing Jamdagni, they had gloated that they had now avenged their father. When she said that, Parashurama immediately could understand they were the sons of Kartavirya Arjun. Parashurama and his brothers were bewildered by grief, anger, and indignation. They fell by their father's body, crying, O father, most religious, saintly person, you have left us and gone to the heavenly planets. Then, with tears of grief pouring down his face, Parashurama stood up and took his axe in his hand. His face set in determination. He would single-handedly destroy all the Kshatriyas. He turned to his brothers, preserve our father's corpse until I return, and once again he ran like the wind through the forest until he arrived at Mahismati, doomed due to its ruler's sinful killings of a Brahmin. Terrified, the people hid in their homes as fierce battle raged on the streets for many days. When quiet again prevailed, they peeked out and saw a mountain of heads piled up at the crossroads of the central promenades. On examination, they discovered the head belonged to the princes. Their blood formed a ghastly river that flowed down the street. Meanwhile, messengers dispatched by Kartavirya Arjun's sons reached surrounding kingdoms, informing their kings of Parashurama's attack on Mahismati. Hearing how the ascetic had been killed by mighty Kartavirya Arjun, they became fearful. Many were outraged. Who did this ascetic think he was? If they let him get away with this crime, there was no telling whom he might decide to punish next. They must support Kartavirya Arjun's sons before this so-called Brahmin got out of hand. From 21 states, armies marched towards Mahismati in support of its princes, and 21 times Parashurama annihilated all the Kshatriyas. At Samanta Panchak, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. After that, Parashurama returned to his ashram, joining his father's head to his torso. He placed the whole body upon kusha grass. Then, with the assistance of many qualified Brahmins, he began an elaborate worship of Vishnu. By this sacrifice, Jamdagni's life was restored, and he ascended in that body to become one of the 7 sages in the group of 7 stars, which form the topmost part of our planetary system. Parashurama then gave in charity all the lands he had conquered to the sages who had assisted him in performing the sacrifice. After the sacrifice, Parashurama took a ritual bath in the Saraswati river to clear himself of all sins. Standing on the riverbank, he appeared like the sun in a clear sky. And these 7 sages, stars, are popularly also known as Saptarishis. My lord, said Parikshit, where is the powerful Parashurama now? Shukadev replied, my dear king, he still lives in the mountainous country, Mahendra, completely peaceful. Having given up all the weapons of a Kshatriya, he is always worshipped, adored, and offered prayer for his exalted character and activities by such celestial beings as the Siddhas, Charans, and Gandharvas. In the next Manvantara, he, like his father, will become one of the 7 principal sages in the universe. Thus, my dear Parikshit, I conclude the history of Gadi's line through his daughter Satyavati, in which appeared the Supreme Lord. He incarnated to relieve the universe from the burden of undesirable kings by killing them many times. I am confused, Parikshit said, as to why the sons of Kartavirya Arjuns waited for more than a year before they sought revenge. Please explain this mystery to me, my lord. Shukadev replied, initially they were too afraid of Parashuram to seek revenge, but later they were moved by providence to do so. Why? Jamdagni sinned by ordering the death of his wife for a minor offense. As a reaction to this sin, he was later killed. This is an important lesson taught in the Vedas. No matter how great anyone will suffer the results of their sinful activities. Therefore, everyone should act cautiously and sagaciously. Now listen as I tell you about King Gadi's lineage through his son, the greatly powerful Vishwamitra, although born as a Kshatriya, became a Brahmin by undergoing penance and austerity. The Shukadev explained that Vishwamitra had 101 sons, of whom the 51st was called Madhuchanda. He also adopted a boy from Bhrigu's dynasty as his own. This boy was named Shunashefa by his birth father Ajigartha, but later, because the God spared him, he became known as Devavrata. If you remember, he said, I related this history earlier. Shunashefa was supposed to be sacrificed in King Harishandra's human sacrifice. When brought into the sacrificial arena, he prayed to the gods that was released by their mercy. That summarizes how Shunashefa of the Bhargava dynasty later became celebrated as Devavrat, a descendant of King Gadi. Shukadev explained how Vishwamitra asked his birth sons to respect Shunashefa as their elder brother. The first 50 sons refused and were consequently cursed by their father to become social outcasts opposed to the Vedic culture. When they saw the fate of their elder brothers, Madhuchanda and his 50 younger brothers accepted their father's order and agreed to obey Shunashefa as one would an elder brother. Their compliance pleased Vishwamitra, who blessed them all to father worthy sons. After this incident, Vishwamitra had other sons. He treated his sons variously. Some he cursed, some he blessed. His adopted son Devavrat was considered the eldest. So that brings us to the end of chapter 16. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna. And today is also Dashera. So happy Vijayadashmi Dashera to all of you who are listening. Next time we will read from chapter Pururuva's Dynasty.